Everyone, welcome back. I'm Tosai. I was looking through some boxes of things the other day, and I found a couple of hard drives. And on this couple of hard drives were probably, maybe 10 gigabytes of work files spanning almost 30 years. And what struck me about them was two things. One, at some point, they were really, really important to me. And also, at some point, I was pretty sure I was going to need them all again, or parts of them. Which got me thinking about identity and work, and how wrapped up they are. This is not a new observation, obviously. It does seem to be changing a bit post-pandemic, which is quite nice to hear, I think. But certainly for those people like me, a Gen X, a Gen Xer, and of course this wrapping up with work is gendered as well. My identity for a lot of years, for so many years, was wrapped up in my work. And I changed. My career has been peripatetic. I've gone from company to company, and those I've started and those I've gone to work for in a lot of different industries. So I always kind of felt like I was not really in that rut, and that I didn't really have that, that singular identity of working, doing the same thing over and over again. But of course I was doing the same thing over and over again. I was just doing it in different contexts. And my first real realization that this was probably a problem was after the attacks in the United States on 9/11, and the fallout from that, the economic fallout from that. And one of the casualties of that was a division I was working with at a digital media division at a publishing concern. And when it became clear we were going to shut down, it became clear that the board was going to yank funding. That was a moment of reckoning for a lot of folks. And we were a fairly young team. I was the oldest, almost the oldest, I guess. And it was a time where a lot of folks on my team, and including me, I guess, had to have one of those serious conversations with yourself about who I am and what I'm doing. All of this is sort of irrelevant, because one of the things that, not sort of irrelevant, but not the point. The point is that at some point if you're lucky enough to get the opportunity, you realize that while this singular identity, this identity wrapped up with one's work, can be very useful. It can build expertise, it gives you a skill set, it gives you a way to make good decisions and some bad decisions in other areas of your life. But it can be helpful. But it's also, if you have the chance to discover this, not great. And it's not great because it takes attention away from everything else. If your identity is in doing this thing, then an awful lot of what else is going on in the world doesn't make the cut, isn't all that important, or it's less important. And And one of the things Zen has helped me come to terms with is the depth of that loss, the unknown loss, the loss you discover, if you're lucky, with enough time to do something about it. And that loss is yourself and the rest of the world, because you begin to realize that you don't really know who you are, and you don't really know what you really believe and what you think, really. Once you get past the knee-jerk, easy answers you've built up over, a career of being involved in this thing you're doing. So you've lost sight of your true self. And even more worryingly, though, is that the effect it has on others. That you realize that, or I did at least, that you don't really know as much as you probably should about those around you and those that you love and those that you care for, and even those that you don't. People on the street to whom we owe attention, and we owe consideration, and we owe compassion. A singular identity wrapped up in an artificial thing. Not that work is artificial on its face. You've got to work to eat, usually. But it hides a lot of the world from you. And discovering that world is a pretty amazing thing, because it adds a level of depth and richness to your life, which is pretty amazing. And it allows you, in paying attention to the world and paying attention to yourself, to the real world, it pushes you a little closer to understanding, to acceptance. In my last video, I was talking a little bit about Dogen's admonition to awake, awake, awake each one. Don't waste this life. And it's pretty startling at, 50-something to realize that while in the conventional sense you've been living a perfectly fine life, there's a lot you could have been doing and could have been seeing and could have been experiencing, and that you haven't been. And that's been a great understanding I've come to. And I think it's a useful one. That by allowing ourselves to be something other than who we think we are, by allowing ourselves to pay attention to things other than those that we think we should in our day-to-day lives, is pretty powerful. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.